Hey folks, David Stewart here. What we are going to be doing today is we are going to be converting our Microsoft Word document, hopefully already set up to be workable as an ebook, and we're going to be turning it into a fully fledged paperback interior, which is a necessary step in order to create our physical copy. I'm going to be focusing on the 8x5 format. It's not going to be really any different for the 6x9, except you're going to change the page size. But 8x5 is what I've been focusing on for my publishing course, and so that's what I'm going to focus on for this video. Once you have the interior formatted, you can figure out how thick the spine is going to be and actually create a wrap cover. This is a necessary step. You can't create the wrap cover before you create the formatted interior. Doing this is not that difficult, but there are a lot of steps. There's a lot of technical considerations you have to keep in mind. Ignore my advice at your peril, particularly when it comes to fonts and things like that. I'm going to show you how to make an interior that looks good like my books, rather than an interior which might look bad like some other authors, particularly indie authors, tend to not consider these things or not hire someone else who knows what they're doing to do the formatting. I'm trying to give you all the information so that you can make sure your interior looks great. So first thing we want to do before we really dig into anything else, we actually want to eliminate any kind of editing notes. So I have some editing notes that were left over from when I made this. We just go to next and delete until there's no until there's no editing notes left. Always got to do one sneeze per video these days. From here, we want to change the size of our document. Now, sometimes there might be something in your document you're not fully aware of that is pushing things outside the boundaries of your margins, like say footnotes or something else like that. When we do this, keep in mind there may be some errors that pop up. You can ignore most of these, and it's gonna be fine. So what we're gonna do all of them at once. We're gonna go to page layout and we're gonna go to margins. So we're gonna first do custom margins. I'm gonna recommend you make the top margin 1/2 inch, bottom margin 1/2 inch, left margin 0.4 inches, right margin 0.4 inches. And the reason those are smaller than the top and bottom is because the top and bottom will have page number and header, and so those are going to be a little bit crowded anyway. Gutter, we want that to be 0.2. If you don't know what a gutter is, the gutter is the interior of a book will have an extra margin in the middle. That's the gutter. So we're going to put a little extra space in the middle so that our text isn't running down into the middle of the book, just making the book in general a lot easier to read. So this should be a pretty good margin format. We want whole document, not new section. For paper, we are going to size it down to an 5x8, width 5, and height 8. Okay, so we have a 5x8, and again, we want that to be whole document. Layout section, we want it to start on a new page or odd page. Odd page works for if you're always wanting your chapters to begin on a right-hand page. If you don't care and it doesn't matter for most books, then you can just do new page. We want different odd and even page, different first page. That's going to be important when we create our header, our footer, and our header and our page numbers. Okay, vertical alignment top works fine. Whole document is going to work fine for that, and should be good to go. So let's hit OK. An error sometimes pops up that says there's margins set outside the printable area. We're just going to ignore those. We're not going to worry about those now, and those won't matter when you actually do this, say on like the KDP platform. That's actually not going to matter at all. So what you should see here is a nicely formatted book. We're just going to look over the entire thing, and it looks good. So everything's lined up nicely. When we do have indentations like this, we may want to look a little closer at those, but those should probably be good to go. The next thing we probably want to look at to fix is our interior font and our heading font. So let's zoom back in, and we'll zoom in nice and close here. Just pick something, pick a page that's got some, has some stuff here. And for this, I'm actually going to turn off the display of formatting marks. So we're just going to look real closely at the font. The formatting marks will disturb what it's going to look like. We have to choose an interior font. Choosing an interior font shouldn't be too difficult. let me give you a couple of options. So first of all, when you're choosing an interior font, that's the font for the body of the text, you always want a serif font, not a sans serif font. Sans serif font would be something like Arial, and you do not want Arial. So that's what Arial looks like. This looks awful for a book interior. It's not what's standard. You want to go with what's standard. The rule is you want to pick fonts that get out of the way of the reader actually reading the text. Don't pick anything that's weird or curly, no script, no sans serif fonts. Pick a typical classic serif font, such as Times New Roman. So you may talk to writers who poo-poo using Times New Roman. Times New Roman is fine. It looks like this. It looks great on an 8x5 book. Big name publishers still use Times New Roman to actually set their book interiors all the way up to large 6x9 books. So do not think that because Times New Roman is a standard or system font that it is not an appropriate font for the interior of your book. It's a good one. I'm going to give some other suggestions for those of you who want something that's, maybe just a little bit different than Times New Roman. Times New Roman is very legible. It gets out of the way of whatever you're looking at. So it's a fine font to pick. My particular fonts that I think are really good vary by size. So for 8x5, I really like Arno. Arno Pro is an Adobe Typekit font. You'll have to pay to get that, but there's lots of different free options to that. The other one that I prefer for 6x9 is Adobe Garamond. Adobe Garamond is a very popular large book font. It was used in the Harry Potter books. It was used in a variety of big name fantasy books, and it looks great. It has a very elegant style to it. It's a little thinner. The serifs are a little more subtle, and it just looks great for bigger books. I don't love it as much for 8x5. For 8x5, I like Arno. Another good choice is Minion. Minion is so clean and so out of the way. It's almost too clean and out of the way. It lacks elegance. Might be good for nonfiction or for science fiction. But I tend to like Arno. It has a little more style. You can also use something like Caslon for larger books. All of those are good. Now, all of those are Adobe Typekit fonts. They cost money. You can find very good alternatives to these, though, on 1001fonts.com. My number one recommendation for interior book fonts from 1001 Fonts it's just going to be free is EB Garamond. So EB Garamond, letter E, letter B, space Garamond. You can find that one. There's one that's designed to be shown at size 12, and there's one that's designed to be shown at size 8. And those are really good because you can use the size 8 for the header, make the header very small to separate it from the body, and you can use size 12 for the body. It looks great at a variety of sizes. That is my number one recommended free font for you guys to get, EB Garamond. It also has a large number of alternate character sets. So if you are writing outside of the English language and you need things like umlauts or accents or something like that, it actually handles a variety of those pretty well. There are limitations. So another hidden advantage to using Times New Roman is you can write in, if you're writing in Swedish or Danish or something, and there's a lot of different, the slashed O, which I don't know the actual name for it, or that double S in German, all of those look really good in Times New Roman. And if you're finding free fonts, those characters may not even be there. And if they are there, they may not look as good as you want them to look for your book. So if you're writing outside of English, Times New Roman is still a really, really good choice because of the alternate character sets that are there, the non-English character sets. I can't give any advice for something that's outside of that, like Arabic. You'll have to talk to somebody who actually writes in Arabic and reads in Arabic and knows what good Arabic fonts actually look like. So those are my recommendations. Other free ones are Book Antiqua, which probably came with your system font. Looks pretty good for book interiors. I think Gaudi Old Style, which is a free font you can get at 1001 Fonts, looks very good for book interiors, and it has a certain flavor to it if you want something with a little more flavor. Gaudi Old Style looks like this. You notice the letters are a little thinner, a little taller. The O is asymmetrical. There's a little bit more to Gaudi Old Style. So it looks pretty good for book interiors. I like it a lot for 8x5s. That's another good one. And you can do any kind of system font as long as it's a serif font. If you're curious what serif font means, if you're not familiar with this, serifs are these extra little things that are on the letter. Sans serif would not have these extra little things hanging off the eye. So if we zoom in really close here, The I has those two things on the top and the bottom. If you do something like Arial, notice it's just a line. So that's a sans serif font. So you want serif fonts throughout. Now, I'm going to go ahead and make that back to my normal formatting. To change all the formatting at once, all you're going to do is change the style. So you're going to go to Modify Style, and you're going to pick the font that you want. So if we're going to do EB Garamond, I'll just show this in EB Garamond because it is a free font. Should just type it in so far down. EB Garamond 12 is what you want, and it'll give you a little bit of a preview. And click OK, and now you'll see it. Now what's also great about the EB Garamond is that it comes with a great line spacing by default. You don't have to really edit the line spacing at all. It comes out looking really good. You'll notice it goes up to 108 pages. So we've gone from, say, 50 pages to 108. That's going to be pretty typical for what you're doing. So EB Garamond looks really good in 8x5. And I might want to change it again and maybe make, you know, Arno Pro. And you can see Arno Pro again has a different flavor from EB Garamond, and it adds an extra page. So as you change these fonts around, you're going to get extra pages. Arno also has great line spacing. I don't really feel the need to change the line spacing. Now, here's how you actually change the line spacing for interior fonts. If you're choosing a font like Times New Roman and you feel like it's a little too jam-packed vertically, what you actually do is you go to Modify the Style, and you're going to go to Paragraph. And so under Paragraph, you should have the first line spacing by 1/4 inch. That's going to be really good for your physical interiors. No indentation at left or right, and no spacing before or after. Now the line spacing can be single. You can do 1.5 lines, double. You don't want to use any of those though. You want it to be either at least or exactly. So if we go at least 12 point, we're going to go maybe to exactly, say, 15 point or 16 point. And you'll notice that gives it a little bit more spaced out look. Makes it just look a little bit wider if you want a little bit more in there. And because of the way this works, because you're giving an exact point to it, it will make it very, very precise. So 15 point is going to look really, really good, I think. But the default line spacing looks fine as well. The default line spacing is about 14. So if you want just a little bit more, you can go by those little small increments, 15, 16 on up. This is going to be better and it's more precise than using 1.5 lines or double spacing. You don't want to use those. They're going to look a little too spaced out. You want something kind of smaller in there. And in fact, Microsoft Word actually has like a 1.15 that looks pretty good, but we're going to be precise and say it's going to be 14. So now we actually have our interior formatted pretty well. One thing we do want to do is we want to check the tags at the end of every chapter. So as this prologue goes into chapter 1, we see that this full justification here at the bottom doesn't quite look right. That's another thing I want to talk about just real quickly. You want it to be justified. You want it to go all the way to the edge of the margins. You don't want it to be left. If there's a bunch of jaggeds on the right hand side of the page, it's not going to look good. So if we have it left justified, we get these jaggy marks. We don't want those. We want it justified. Hit that. Okay, all we have to do to fix this, very easy. Press enter. Fixed. So we can check just each one of these, make sure the previous chapter looks good and doesn't have that long line, which Microsoft Word tends to do. They may have fixed it in later versions of Microsoft Word, but they haven't fixed it. And the one that I'm using Microsoft Word 2010. Wow. Next thing we want to do is we want to go to page layout and hyphenation, and we want to go to automatic. We don't need to worry too much about crazy hyphenation. We want it to just automatically do it. Auto hyphenations always worked for me. If you want to be super specific, you would do manual and you would read through your document and make sure that it's correct. Another thing I want to do is anytime there's an asterisk, which I use to break scenes, I want to make sure that those are correct. And you can see there's a problem with this style. We're going to go to select that, go to, oops. Oh, for some reason skipped out to another document. We're going to go to Times and should just be able to delete that. and make this one centered. There we go. All right, perfect. And we can just bump that one over a little bit. All right, so anytime there's an asterisk, you can just go find asterisk, and I just double check and make sure that these are correct, and just go through every asterisk, make sure that they don't have a little bump over. Oh, see, that one has one. We just slide that guy over, make him perfectly in the center. Oh, that one needs to be slid over. Oh, that one's good. Next one, next one, next one. All these are looking good for these scene breaks. All right, so I think we're good on that. Okay, so we checked all the scene breaks. Those are all looking pretty good. I might want to check this kind of stuff, but I think this looks good. I like extra indents or italics. I've already formatted most of this the way that I want it to be, and I'm going to revise this before I publish it. I just wanted to show you how to format it. Okay, so what we want to do next is we probably want to fix our table of contents. And you may have a table of contents that looks like this, or however it's going to look, but the page numbers may be off the right hand side. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the table, we're going to go to table of contents, we're going to go to insert table of contents. This will overwrite it. You can use a template like classic, and then create a tab leader like this, and we can always edit it after we are done. Distinctive, doesn't matter. Let's do classic. And show page numbers, right align page numbers, and this should actually fix it right here. So now we have the page numbers over here, and if you want those little leaders, let's create a tab leader of this, hit OK, and now we have this. Now from here we can actually just we can just edit this if we want. We can make it whatever. Instead of Cambria, let's do Arno, which is our main thing. We'll take it off bold. This is all in caps. You can do a bunch of different things here. From here you can edit it. Let's make that centered, make it black because blue's not going to show up. And from here, this is actually going to be our heading font. It should change automatically. So next thing we want to do is we want to change our heading font. Right now it's in Times New Roman. Actually, it looks like it's in Arno Pro. Arno Pro is fine, but let's do something a little fancier. I like Trajan Pro for a bunch of reasons. I think it looks great, and I would actually take bold off. I think it looks great for fantasy. It's a nice, bold, beautiful headlining font. If you want a free version of that, you can try Optimus Princeps. It's actually very, very close, and I like it better in some ways, mostly because it's a little tighter as far as it's a little more condensed, which means you can up the size a little bit more. From say 18, we could go to 20 or 24. And you notice that the caps kind of extend below the lowercase letters. It just has a distinctive look. So we can keep it like that. And all we have to do here is go to Styles, Heading, and we'll go to Modify, and we'll just make it like that. We'll go Optimus Princeps, we'll go say size 24, and we'll take it off bold. And now every single chapter should have that formatting all the way through the entire thing. And if we go up to the table of contents, that should also have it. It actually does not have it. It's Cambria now, but we'll just change it manually. There we go, Optimus Princeps. And so now we have a really nice looking table of contents and a really nice looking document. You can format this however you want just by selecting it and going again to references, table of contents, and you can overwrite this any way you want to. You always want this, use hyperlinks instead of page numbers. That's for if it's a web view, which is what's going to make your ebook. So you could actually turn this into an ebook and those page numbers wouldn't show up. It would just be a hyperlink. Forgot to mention that in the other video. So it should be fine. Now we have what is essentially a 90 or 80% formatted document. What's missing? Well, what's missing is our headers and our page numbers. So we're going to insert those. We're going to go right here. We're going to go to Insert. We're going to go to Header. And we're going to just put a blank header in. Now, what I like to do for my headers is I like to have different things on each side. Remember we did those different odd even pages. So I like to have my author title on the left side and the book title on the right side. And so let's go ahead and do that. This is going to be a left side one, so we will type in David V. Stewart. Let's get a little closer so we can see that. We're going to put that there, and we're going to make that center. Now, I like to, for headers, I like to have we also want to get rid of that paragraph mark. We don't want that. I like to have these in a little bit different font, or just something different. Maybe a font that matches the front. So we could do Optimus Princeps. We could do like a Gaudi Minion. I mean, we could do just a different font. You can also make this, say, smaller. Let's go down to 10 and make it bold. And that actually will be enough to offset it as well. For this, I think, though, I'm going to make it Optimus Princeps for this demonstration. Now, on this side, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go to the middle. We're going to go the Silver City, and we can select it and go to Optimus Princeps, and again size it down to 10 or make it bold. Let's make both of them bold. And there you go. Now you have a header that's going to look pretty darn decent when you're looking at it. Next thing we need to insert is page number. So go to Insert, and we're going to find page number. There's a bunch of different ways you can do page numbers. So you can do page numbers that go left and right. So as you open it, you know, the page numbers in the corner. Or what I like to do is I just like to have the page number at the bottom of the page, down there, in the middle at the bottom. So we just go ahead and select that. You'll notice that it automatically has that little indentation like that. And we're going to delete that paragraph at the bottom. Same thing here. We got to insert two of them because they're different odd and even pages. So we go to Insert, Page Number, Bottom of Page, and we do it that way. Now you can stop here. No one's going to really object to your book starting here on a page 4. But we kind of want that to not be the case. So we're going to go right to where there would be a page number. Remember, doing different odd, even, different first page, different odd, even. We are going to go to page number, and we are going to format the page number. And we are going to start at 1. Now, when you look, this should say page, well, it says page 3. Oh, I just clicked the wrong one. Let's do this one. We're going to go to, oh, see, this is we have a page missing here. So anyway, we're going to go here. We're going to go to Insert Page Number, Format Page Numbers, and we're going to start at 1. Okay. And so now this should say page 2. So the book begins on page 1. And 2, 3. Now to fix this, we got to go back to our table of contents. Just double click in there and go to Update Table, Update Entire Table, and bam, there we go. We can also take that bold. Take that bold off. Not bold. It's that Cambria heading. Let's change that font to Arno Pro, and just take that bold off. I don't like that. All right, I think that looks good. So here we are, and we have a page number that's correct, and we're just going to check and make sure that the page numbers aren't starting over again, and that they are going to be continuing all the way through the document. Now, traditionally for each chapter page, we're not going to have a page number. So if you see there's a page number here, how do we get rid of that? Well, right here we have a page break. All we have to do there is get rid of the page break, go to Page Layout, Breaks, go to Next Page, and you'll see the page number disappears, but it does actually starts over. So from here, all we have to do is make sure it's on Link to Previous. We're going to go to Page Number, and we're going to go Format Page Numbers. We're going to go Continue from Previous Section, and that should fix it. So this one, yeah, so we have the same thing here. So we'll just do that. Let's delete this extra stuff. And we'll go to Page Layout, Breaks, Next Page. Make sure we have the correct formatting here. Page number, format page number, continue. And as long as that's correct, a lot of times Word will kind of double guess you. As long as that's correct, this will work all the way through. So let's delete that, and I'll just fix it. So you may have to go through each chapter to fix this. Sometimes it's fixed already, other times not. So in this case, because it is fixed, we don't have to worry about it. Same thing here. Hi, Roan. What's up?
Hello.
Why'd you decide to come in, bud? I'm trying to record a video right now.
I was just sneaked.
I see that you sneaked in here, you little sneaky dude.
I am a sneaky goblin too.
You're a sneaky goblin? Oh no. Okay. So this looks like it's pretty well formatted and everything's good to go. Okay, so the final step here is we need to turn this into a PDF. There's a free program that I can recommend that you use, which is Adobe, or it's just called PDF Architect or PDF Creator. You can just Google it. And it'll do a pretty decent job converting most things to PDF. We'll try it right now. It's just it integrates with Word pretty well. And we'll just title it like that. And here it'll open it up and we can see if our font's actually embedded properly here. So Optimus Princeps looks good. Now let's take a look and make sure Arno actually embedded. In a lot of cases, these Adobe fonts will not embed properly, and it looks like this one did. So this one actually looks pretty good. Looks like everything came through okay. What we want to do is we want to zoom out, and you can do this with your Adobe version or not. I usually use Adobe Acrobat to do all this, and so it's not as big a problem for me. But in some cases, you'll find some fonts just won't embed with this program, and you may have to pick a different font. In this case, this one looks pretty good, and this interior would be pretty much ready to ship. A couple other little details I might do is, like for the page number, I might add, a little something here like a dash. No, I don't want that. I might add a little dash on either side, just to draw, may have a little interest there, and that'll format should carry throughout. And so that's it. That's formatting your interior. Now that you have this PDF like this, you are good to go. You can upload this to the templates on Amazon, and it will give you the correct cover design template. I did forget to stylize the title page, so let me go ahead and do that real quick, and that'll be the last thing we would do. Let's go ahead and hit that. Let's do like Optimus Princeps again, and for this one we actually are gonna get it down towards the middle and probably size it up a bit. And then for this one we can just size that up to 16, and this one will size up to say 18 or 20, and there you go. That's what a title page will look like. I'll talk about front matter in a different video, like what stuff you actually need to have, but otherwise this is a good interior document. Like I could publish this pretty much as it is. I might make a couple changes when I do publish it, but overall it looks good, and hopefully your document will look as good as well. So thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and remember that the Write stream happens every Wednesday at 6 p.m. All right, I'll see you guys next time.